Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, and if this is your first time here, hello, welcome. This is Essential Patience and I am Patience. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about how to save while you are on vacation. Now, we all love a good vacation. I know I do. I can't wait to take a vacation. I'm excited. But in today's video, we're going to just talk about savings, how to make sure that you're not overspending on vacation, because we tend to do that for the experience. We're so in the moment, we're so enjoying it, and a lot of people don't go on vacation with a budget. But here are some things that you can do to cut down on the money you're spending. But before we go straight into the list, remember to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and let's get into this list, how to save while you're on vacation. So one of the first things you want to do is plan ahead. Last minute vacation plans are always messy, let's be honest, but remembering that you plan ahead where you want to go. And sometimes finding out the off-peak season of like traveling, because there are times of the year where it's like, we all know it's super expensive to travel. So finding the best one, the best accommodations, the best time to book the flight, like those are all the things that you want to take into consideration, because if you start planning early, you have more time to make adjustments, find out new things, to change the plans if you need be. But if you are waiting to the very last minute to start planning a vacation, especially with a group of friends, that is so stressful, and that is not the best way to go. So making sure that you understand that, okay, I'm going on vacation, here's my budget, and this is how much I want to spend on these things, and what can I get for it, and start to make those plans according to it. Plan ahead. Do not wait to the last minute, because I don't know, I feel like when you go on vacation, you want to relax, you don't want to be too over the edge, especially even time getting to that vacation. So I like to plan ahead so that I'm not waiting to the very last minute. The next one is to set a very realistic budget. There's some people who think that they can travel overseas for like $1,000, and maybe sometimes you can, but it can be super expensive. Just because you're going to a low-cost country or a low-cost area doesn't mean it's going to be low cost to you, because you're a tourist, which means that there's some premiums on goods for you. So set a realistic budget, do your research, and don't go based on the little money that you have. You should at least have your budget, but then also have a little bit of an emergency fund in case you need it. Do not go to a foreign country with insufficient funds, especially. Even within the States, don't do it, but definitely not a foreign country, because it can get dangerous really quickly. So making sure that you set a realistic budget, and then use other things to help you, like using airline miles. I traveled twice this year on airline miles within a country, and it was very good. And I even booked a ticket for going to visit my sister in the future. We using like an e-ticket, like it helped like reduce the price from like 200 something to like 100 something. So those are ways of like decreasing how much you're spending within your budget. And in the future, I plan on doing a few more travels, and I'm definitely saving up those miles, finding different ways to cut down on how much you spend. But definitely have a realistic budget, because I always see people who are like, oh, we're trying to travel and this friend came and she's like didn't have enough money for food. No, plan everything, your accommodation, your flight, food, transportation, those are all parts of the vacation. So plan for it. The next thing is to choose an affordable accommodation. Nowadays, there's Airbnb and different types of ways that you can stay without staying at a hotel. But then for safety reasons, sometimes if you're traveling alone especially, you may want to stay at a hotel. There are different things that you want to look at, but also look for an affordable accommodation for yourself and whoever else you're going with. Do not be that person who is trying to book a Marriott and a suite for like $400 for a day, and then you can't afford it. It doesn't have to be the most expensive accommodation. I think it should be clean. It should definitely be a vibe part of your vacation, because you're going there for a vacation. So, you know, maybe if you can afford luxurious, you know, semi-luxurious, just to have a good time. But definitely book an accommodation that you can afford. This is something that you can save towards. Always do your research about like, okay, how much do they typically cost? What time of the year? Because sometimes, you know, on game weekends, or if there's any big event going on, the prices for the hotel goes up. And then you can also like plan like, okay, how much is it per night? Sometimes it's like $200 per night, sometimes it's like $180 per night, sometimes it's $300 per night. And also, what type of, you know, suite do you want? Do you want a king size room, a queen size, which could be cheaper? Or do you want to be splitting the room with somebody? Whichever it is, make sure that you plan for your accommodation. It is realistic and it is affordable. The next thing is to travel light. A lot of times, if you don't have airline credit card, or you're traveling, you have to pay for your luggage. I personally have like a Delta card, so as long as I fly Delta, I don't have to pay for my luggage. But if I fly American, which I sometimes do. I do have to pay, and that's when it's important to pack light. $30 going, $30 coming, that's $60. It's still good money, and if you travel enough, like, it's definitely going to be adding up. When you have those opportunities, you can pack lights, especially if you like during the summer. Plan, don't take your entire closet with you. How many days are you going? I'm traveling for a week, a few days. So why do you need to take your entire closet with you? Sometimes people are going there for like a fashion show type of look, but if you're really going there to really enjoy the moment, it might be important for you to pack light. I personally like to carry no more than one suitcase, one check bag, and then some carry-ons. Like, that's enough for me, depending on how long I'm staying. But overall, if you're staying for a few days, which I have done sometimes, I only take carry-ons, and that's really helpful and it saves money. The next thing is to research low cost and free activities, because if you're on vacation, all of your fun should not be like paid for fun if you don't have the money to do so. I mean, I think sometimes you should do that, you know, the nice things, but then there are also some free things that you can do. For example, let's say you're going to DC area, there's the Smithsonian, so many museums that you can go. Some of my favorites, like the natural history, the animal museums, the African one, the aerospace one. Like, there's so many beautiful museums there. You can also go to a park. Sometimes they are hosting maybe a free concert, going to just different get-togethers that are free, that everything doesn't have to cost money. Some activities will likely cost money. I went on a trip with friends, and you know, we did ski, and the skiing cost money. Rent the skis and then get somebody to help us train. Some people did snowboarding, but basically there are different things that we did, and that was our paid for fun. But then there were also things that we also did that didn't cost money, and then even just like spending time with each other. So it's really important that you have a balance between that. Everything shouldn't have to cost money on vacation. You should have money for those paid activities, but then if you want to explore some free activities, it's definitely good to do so as well. The next thing is travel insurance. Now, I think you should have at least some level of travel insurance, only because you never know what can happen, especially if you're going to a foreign country. There are some people who go to a foreign country and they think those countries are just like the countries that you're in, but no. If you can afford to pay a little something for travel insurance, just to give you that guarantee that if you need something that it can help you with, it will be much easier than going ahead and doing it all by yourself, especially if you're not used to traveling alone. And if you are traveling alone, or you're not used to booking an entire vacation by yourself, always ask for that help. And sometimes paying something little to have that guarantee is really worth it, and it will save you more in the long run than it would you be by yourself. The next one comes in the form of transportation, and it's really worth it sometimes to use public transportation. I know it's not always the best in certain cities. Dallas, for example, we don't seem to have any type of public transportation. Maybe in the city of Dallas, there are like a few buses here and there. So depending on where you're going, it might be worth it to check out the local public transportation. I know especially a lot of European countries, public transportation is very widespread. If you live in DC, around Maryland, there's very good public transportation. It does take a little while, and it does take more effort than getting an Uber or a taxi or some private car service, but it might be worth it. But then other times, if you're going on a trip with a group of people, you can come in and like rent a car. That might be much cheaper than having to take an Uber everywhere you go. Not to overlook the convenience, because it's very convenient to do that versus having to call an Uber every single time. But I do know that not every place has public transportation, or at least trusted public transportation. So it's important that you think about ways to lower the cost of transportation and to have low cost transportation, because it can add up really quickly. Like an Uber to lunch, an Uber home, an Uber to dinner, an Uber home, an Uber to an activity, an Uber home. Like, you could be spending hundreds of dollars in just a day trying to get around. Next is the food cost. Food on vacation can be very expensive. So it's really important that when you are thinking about going on a vacation and different ways that you will be eating on that vacation, because as you should, think about it in terms of what kind of dining experience can you afford. Would you go more the local restaurants since you don't have to cook it, versus the controlled environment restaurants? But then what type of restaurant, what tier of restaurants? There's some places that you go and the restaurants are expensive versus others that is like more affordable. So that's something that you also want to think about. And the other times, like let's say you're staying like a week in an Airbnb, then you can also afford to cook. I've been on vacation where we definitely like made breakfast, and it was actually pretty good. Especially considering there were like several of us, it was definitely more worth it than ordering food or going out to eat, it would have cost us much more. So sometimes if you're doing like a road trip, bring food along, you can go grocery shopping. So there are different ways that you can cut down on your food costs, and it's good to explore it. And also making sure that sometimes when you go to like tourist destinations, they don't just send you to the place where they overcharge tourists. Like sometimes it's good to like not wander around, like don't go to unsafe places, but also look for other more non-touristy areas where the locals enjoy, and there will be a more fair price versus where they know y'all are coming with the money and they will charge you for it. And the next one is minimizing souvenirs. Souvenirs, of course, wonderful. You go to a place, you want to get a postcard to everybody, you want to get those little magnets. That's great, but minimize your souvenirs, please. Not only would it be a lot to bring everything back, when your suitcases, it might be like super heavy, which then you get overcharged at the airport, but then also just the amount of money. Some things are overpriced. I think sometimes beyond the tourist areas, go to places where like the authentic local art, the authentic local creative places, and then that's where you can get more affordable ones as well. But don't overindulge in it. You can always come back, but it's really nice, I know, to get souvenirs for people just to know that you thought about them while you're on your trip. It's really nice, but then also minimize it because they can rack up in price very much. I think they call them like tourist traps, where you're overpaying for visiting the area versus if you're going to like more local areas, you can get better deals. And the last but absolutely not the least way to save money, probably the most important way to save money on a vacation, is to stay healthy. Make sure that if you're sick and you're traveling out of the United States or out of the country, your country, reconsider, because if you get sick overseas, it can be so expensive. Not only would you have to stay longer, but then also there's a language barrier. If your insurance doesn't go beyond your country, like it can get really tricky. Especially, let's say you are like in the UK coming to the United States, where you have like universal health care, and then you come here and there's no universal health care here. Like, how are you gonna pay for it if you get sick? Healthcare can be very expensive, so make sure that you stay healthy. You are really careful with what you're eating. Local areas, make sure that it's clean. Go to certain countries and then they have different types of bacteria. It's not like it's a bad thing. We all have different things, but you're not used to it, and your immune system can be compromised. Even with like mosquitoes in certain countries, you can get malaria, and if you don't have those antibodies to fight them off. I definitely had malaria when I was younger because I lived in West Africa. Stay healthy on your trip would definitely save you a ton of money, a ton of headache, and definitely give you the best experience. So with that, bringing this video to an end, thank you so much. I want to hear from you in the comment section. Do you have any horror stories going on vacation and something happening and then you maybe losing a lot of money or not being able to have the best of time on your vacation? I would definitely like to hear about it. Remember to like this video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and ring the notification bell because I post 2 videos a week on Tuesdays and on Fridays. Come on over because it's gonna be a good conversation all around, and there'll be a video waiting for you. Share this video with somebody you know will be helpful to us. Thank you so much again, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.